Hello there. I am way down low. Hello. I am so glad that you are here because I am going to be having the best show and y'all are going to get to enjoy it so much. I am actually having some technical issues and I don't know why. And so we are trying to fix that. But my guest tonight is Mark Fults, and I am so enthused about this because he is somebody that I consider he's my paranormal expert. Okay. If I have something come up that I don't know what to do with, Mark is fantastic about getting everything kind of straightened out for me. And if I have a case that I'm uncomfortable with, he always comes and helps me. And we had a case that was actually pretty whacked. And it was a friend of mine's house and it was affecting their animal. And Mark came and helped with that. He's very generous with his time and his talents. He is the most real paranormal person I feel like I know. I think he's pretty amazing. And I'm blessed to have him for my friend. So, without further ado, hey, Mark Fultz.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. It's been a crazy week. So and of course, crazy energy. So I think we're heading for a full moon, so here we go.
So, like, it's not just me,
No,
because today has been whack. I mean,
today has been whacked, but it's been good. It's just been whacked. It's been
it
kind of
has
crazy.
been good, but it's been
Yeah.
very erratic through the course of the day.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like the earbuds that work like a champ on this laptop are not connecting whatsoever.
My what?
My
My what?
earbuds?
I don't have any earbuds.
No, I mean my earbuds.
Oh, I was about to say, well, your earbuds. Well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'll talk louder. And
It's
excuse
okay.
me,
I can
I
hear
had to
you.
cover the mirror. The thing I usually cover my mirror with had just fallen off, so I covered this because it's a haunted mirror. So it'll be distracting. So I just covered it while we're doing this. It distracts me when I'm, seeing stuff. So
Well, I was that is something that I would like to talk to you about haunted objects.
Sure.
If you don't
Oh,
mind cutting over to that. You know,
go for
I have I have things from three grandmothers in this house. And my mom, well, and David's mom. And sometimes it seems like my whole house is just, you know, vibrating. And it's
Sure.
not me because they gave me really nice ADHD medicine that seems to be helping. But but it really is weird. Things move, things roll around, dogs watch things moving around, and it's very, very odd to see that. And until recently, I didn't think that I could.
Well, well, see, in my house, I that's what I prefer. I have haunted furniture, I have haunted dolls, I have, I think it just said, as long as it's nothing that's bad, I mean, it just adds
It's not
character.
bad.
I mean, the haunted furniture is because, no, I mean, you're talking about furniture that's over like this piece behind this monstrosity behind me. It's probably not far after the Civil War, kind of era. It's got a lot of juice in it. Um, the house I live in is 83 years old. So to me, I embrace it. As long as it's something that's not irritating you or standing over you at night going, you know,
Yeah.
trying to irritate me, then I'm fine. It's
Well,
just
that doesn't
other proof
happen.
that there's other life out there and uh the-
What's the
well,
what's the most
it's
haunted
for me it's
What is the most
I
haunted
didn't hear the rest of
you
it.
have?
The most haunted what? I can't hear
The
you, you're
haunted
cutting
piece.
out. Um, oh, most haunted, well, of course, my haunted dolls are pretty haunted. The most haunted thing I have is a haunted quilt, and
Like,
anytime I've gotten it out, anytime I've taken it out to love it or to look at it, it's from 1839. Something happens, I'll get little knockings on the bedroom doors, or, I mean, but it's a happy kind of thing. But it freaked my cousin out because I took it over to her house to really, for the first time, lay it out. The first time it had been taken out and looked at probably in 60, 70 years. And it was beautiful. It's extraordinary, crazy quilt from Texas. But caused a lot of phenomena, and I said, "I think it's the quilt," and she very quiet it was in a bag, her foot, and she just very quietly slid it over to me, and, she's like I said, "I think I'll leave it here with you," and slid it back to her, and she's like, "I think you'll take it home." And, so I brought it home, and I put it in my back room, and then, I got a couple little knocks on my bedroom door, and I said, "Thank you," because I love it, it's beautiful, I've always loved it, but it's my most haunted, charmingly haunted item besides Lizzie Brown, which was
oh,
a postmortem doll that I came across that came to me, and she died in like 1890 at 8 months old, and the mother had, the funeral home would arrange if you wanted to buy a postmortem doll to represent your child, then they would put the hair on the doll before they buried the child. And the doll doesn't have the spirit of the little girl so much as the energy of the mother holding her and loving her and putting that energy into it. And she's amazing, really an amazing, and the bottom part of her face is missing. And a lot of people look at her and are scared of her, but she's quite beautiful energy. And I've had people, when I had her in the store I worked at, um, people like mothers who were crying, or, that she felt she wanted to be held by to take the sadness away from them. The doll would start shaking a little bit, and you'd see her eyes go from light gray to cobalt blue. And when the women would hold her, they felt better. And but so she's still doing that all this time later. So, um, but as far as furniture, I think the thing behind me, the dresser behind me, which I love, um, has quite a bit of energy. But I think, my quilt and my dolls have the most haunted kind of thing. And then I have a couple of books that is like, there's one of them I have to keep sealed and keep away from people. So, um, but besides that, uh, that would be that.
it's just, I find that fascinating because until I was probably my late 20s, it never crossed my mind that an
Mhm.
item could be haunted. And which is crazy
Oh,
because
yeah.
Kathleen Tucker Wyndham, an author from Alabama, used to write the 13, Southern ghosts, the 13 Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, whatever ghosts. And
Yeah.
she was a hero of mine for a long time. And it got worse because when I was in seventh grade, I got to meet her, right? Sixth grade.
Uh,
And I think people uh, people discount a lot that not just ghosts or hauntings, that there are, you know, items, there are locations, there are um, vehicles have been haunted. Not quite like Christine, but you know,
Oh,
but there are
yeah,
there's all kinds of ways that hauntings can go. And
yeah. And some
I
of
think
it
it's
is not
conscious.
always your spirit, you know, it can be it can be your personality, it can be just an essence of your energy. Every time you touch something, you're leaving a fingerprint. Well,
Mhm.
the same thing with your ectoplasm, everything you're touching is getting kinda like a thread of ectoplasm from that to you, and then when you die, you know, it's there's many, many things that have your essence, your clothes, your bed you slept in, the jewelry you
Mhm.
wear, the furniture
Yeah.
you touch, it all has essence. There are hauntings and stuff that are not the spirit or the soul, you know, that can be it can be just, you know, the personality, because our personalities are very strong, that, it can be all sorts of things, or it can be that, you know, like, let's say a Marilyn Monroe. If you pick up an item of Marilyn Monroe's and think of her, you know, that's like making a phone call to her, you know? So, when you have, something someone's given you, you know, it's like, picking up a phone, you know, and calling them,
That's
and sometimes they answer, and then there's some things that, you know, are just haunted, you know,
yeah.
because that's, something they remember that they you know, and they feel like, you know, they're especially trying to connect with someone to because they've died unfinished, which that happens more than not, you know.
Yeah.
Because we die, you know, depending upon how we die, but, people are very bad about just leaving everything unsaid, undone, you know, and then as a spirit, you have very little choice and resolution on anything, and, so, you know, that a lot of people just try to get messages across or say, you know, whatever it is they have the message they have to say, or they're still being looked for, you know, if it's a missing person, you know, so it can be multiple versions of anything, you know, and then too, it may not be haunted as much as it's just embedded with energy and you're picking up the energy and you're feeling something that it's making you feel something. And then sometimes people will feel like that's a haunting, but you know, but there's a lot of things that go into whether it's haunted or not.
Well, I know that I have a friend in New Orleans. She's a voodoo chick and
Uh-huh.
really good at that. But the first time I ever went in her house, that was the first place I ever heard of the memory jewelry, the hair and stuff
Yes.
jewelry.
Yeah. The memento
And
mori.
thank you. Yes.
Mhm.
And I was tripped out, right? I mean, I was because it wasn't something I would ever have contemplated doing just because I'd never thought of it. And so when I was looking at the stuff that she had on her walls and she had a lot of it mounted, it was really pretty.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that it was hair made from hair. And I was a little bit
Yes.
creeped, right? And and obviously at that point I was already doing this because that was how we met. And I still was pretty naive about things that weren't like go talk to them, experience them, have them come talk to you, and that I hadn't gotten into the different practices around it. So it was her whole house was an education. The whole place was.
Yeah.
And but that
Is
was
that Bloody
something,
Mary?
huh?
What
What?
is that the one that they call Bloody Mary?
It is Bloody Mary.
Is that the lady
And
that called Bloody Mary? Okay, yeah. I actually have a friend who I think works for her now. It lives in New Orleans. Talks
yeah,
about her haunted doll collection and everything. So yeah.
she does have dolls too. But
Yeah.
she has so much. And she's actually really interesting because she has some of the most random stuff that's not necessarily haunted, but um, it's just because she's a world traveler too, and so she's brought back stuff from all kinds of places, and some of it you can feel before you walk in. And now she has a museum that is on North Rampart Street. It was the North Rampart Street Murder House, and she turned
Yeah.
it into a museum. And it's a kicking
Yes.
museum.
I think my friend works for her in the museum.
Well,
So I can't wait to go down and visit him and see all of this. So
well,
I've been to New
I'll tell you
Orleans
what,
once for an after.
you will not be bored. there's there's
No,
so much
I
in
have a
there. You will
feeling I
have
will.
fun.
Oh yeah, well I'm looking forward to it. You know, so it's. But yeah, I mean, our friend Teal, she just now sold off, I think, pretty much off her memento mori.
She's a
Because
lot
she,
too.
every so often people clean their plate and so over. And the memento mori thing, I was reading a story about because part of the grave robbing thing that used to go on. I mean, what they would do with the memento mori hair is, of course, they take the hair from your deceased person, take it and have it turned into the jewelry, and then you would get it back.
Yeah.
Or if you had the dolls made and you sent your children, take and redo it. But part of the grave robbing trade is they would steal the scalps from dead people and also sell those, and people, the hair, and those would get kind of like pre-made kind of thing. So, you would, so there was some of it that became really weird and unusual, but mostly it was, if you sent it off, it was your dead person's hair and they'd bring it back. And there were people who would have hair switches done from their dead people's hair, and they would wear them in their very fancy, elaborate hairdos or wigs. And there was, they were so much more different about death than we are, because
Yes.
we're squeamish about it, and we're squeamish thinking that, oh, that's part of a dead person. Well, back then it was, they didn't have all the videos and cameras and pictures and
Yeah.
things to hold to them with. And some people, it was very it was having holding them to them. So it wasn't a bad thing. It's just that
Yeah.
we are so squeamish about death that we go, ew. But for someone who's grieving, as long as it didn't get out of hand, like Mary Todd Lincoln or somebody, then you would, it can be healthy in a way, because they're holding the energy of that person. But it's not for everybody, and it wasn't for everybody back then. There were plenty of people who were creeped out by that. But there were plenty of people who embraced it and thought it was quite beautiful, and it was quite a big trade. I mean, that was a huge business. So, um, and a very difficult business to do. I mean, some of the jewelry that's made, I mean, they were braiding hair, into
Yes.
watch fobs and things like that, into bracelets, and a lot of them still survive to now. So, I mean, the craftsmanship was amazing, and, there was a piece that, Till had that was, and it was a beautiful painted brooch, and on the other side, it had hair and pearls and things. It was exquisite. So
Well,
it can be very beautiful, and then it also can be very creepy. And, like my doll Lizzie, you know, some people scream and run from her, and then some people, when they look at that and experience, the soothing nature of the doll, then, that changes their mind. It's like with me going through the death process. When I came
yes.
back from the death process, I'm not afraid of death,
Yeah.
you know? It's soothing to know it all goes on. It's, everything has an ebb and a flow. It's okay to die. It's okay to live. It's better to live and conquer your issues
Yes.
now. uh, Takes care, and I go through myself now. I'm to get it all of and get anything I want done because I'm the candle has this much, so I'm trying to get it all accomplished and finishing the last curtain, the last chapter, and death is not my enemy.
You're not
Death,
at all afraid of it.
you I mean, it actually is. Um, it's full of wonderful friends and wonderful feelings and consciousness, and it's beautiful actually. So, um, life is the hard part, especially if you're metaphysical and you're in this world. And this world is
Yeah.
pretty beautiful and wonderful, full of wonderful people, and it also is full of just brutality and the base, excuse me, human elements, the things that we would hope we never have to see. So it's very primitive
Yeah.
in its way, but it also is beautiful. I mean,
You know,
it's when death comes, death is a beautiful, and you're not losing someone from go on. You, they're going to be there when you get there,
yeah.
and I like to know that I've got quite a few very nice people waiting for me when I go. More than what I got. It's better than going if I had to go to a family reunion, believe me, I've I prefer my deceased friends to, go to a family reunion, which I would never do anymore.
Yeah.
Um, because, people are just, a whole different kettle of fish. And, the thing, as a person, you have to learn, and right now I'm navigating, since I have a lot of PTSD, and you think, you get past certain things and things trigger that. And, I've had to deal with a lot of that in the last few months, and which has been very good because I'm making a lot of progress. Um, life is the hard part. It's never going to be easy, and life throws things at you, and it sees what you're going to do. Are you going to sit down and cry? Or are you going to just give up? Or are you going to keep going? And I tend to keep going I may do it slower than most people, but
I don't think
I
so.
think my spirit, I think, I think my spirit self is ready to come into its own, and what. So I'm about to move into the next phase, and so it's very good, but it's very difficult. It's very, and people. I think if you're a metaphysical person, you get to, it's like anyone. They look at you and they think, well, you get to see all this stuff and you do all that, and it's you're going to reach toe and it's easy. It's never easy for anybody.
Yeah.
And that's because we're not here for it to be easy. We're here to learn. We're here to overcome. We're here to reach out and go forward. And then once when you die, then then you're going to move forward, into the consciousness. And the first thing they go is, "What'd you learn?" And you go, "Well, this is what I did." And I think this time when I go back, it'll be like, well, it's okay. It's okay. I don't feel like I don't feel like I have deficits anymore, with it.
Yeah.
But the human element is the part where it's just now, I'm just got a few things to accomplish, and I'll do those, and then after that, it's all it's all gravy. I'm heading towards a simple life, and the last years I want to be very calm as much as possible. You never get a calm life, but I want peace. I want um a quiet tiny house and pets and flowers, and that's going to be it. I'm just going to,
You've achieved that.
well, I have here, but see, I don't own this, and
That's true.
at any time, people can sell it, and which of course, they've had several offers, and this has been a gorgeous little home for me for 8 years,
It
but
is
but it's
gorgeous. I
not
like it
mine.
too.
It's not mine. And, I mean, I put roots wherever I go, but, I'm very much what we call a house whore. I love houses, I love homes, I love flowers, and so I'm looking at coming up, hopefully, I'm gonna get the opportunity to, get some assistance for buying a piece of property from a relative of mine, and, then I'm just going to create my tiny home, and then I'm just gonna become like Tasha Tudor. I'll just be an artist, do my things and travel, and, I want to travel, and, but, right now, to the thing that I've learned is magnetizing, and there's things I wanna do, and right now, most people are poor. Um, so I'm doing things to magnetize what I want to do. It's like go several areas that I'm interested in, and want to Rocco Canyon. I want to. There's a place that Teal went in York that's very haunted. That I've got to go.
Mm.
I've got to go see that at some point in my
Yes,
life. I want to go to England. I want to go back to some places in Germany and Switzerland, and that I'd seen when I was 18, that I had experiences, but I wasn't prepared yet, for I want to go back to those. And I had an experience where I mean, I have a lot of German,
mhm,
and hence the name Fults, which sounds like little German. But uh when I went to the Black Forest area, I picked up an accent I couldn't get rid of until I got on the plane. And then
really.
a few years ago, I found out that a lot of my ancestors came through the Black Forest. And I went, oh. So, you have that DNA memory in there, and it resonated. And so, I want to go back. I want to go back there. And I love Germany. It was quite beautiful. And Switzerland is, I love a mountain,
Oh,
and
I've heard
those,
it's amazing.
I mean, I come from Chattanooga, and our big hills, big mountains, and you go over there and then now makes your mountain feel like it's like a little ice cube. Um, Extraordinary, extraordinary. And Switzerland, they were so sweet to us, and Austria, um, and I want to do those things. And it's like, well, I feel like I'm going to get the opportunity to do those things, and I have to make them, and I have to magnetize them to me, and I will. And
You're very good
and
at that.
well, I've had to, because I certainly hadn't had the income to do it, but there's no reason why I can't get the income to do it. At some point, I will make it work. But my main focus right now is getting the things I want to do, the things I need finished, the things I need started. And then as far as for me, it's like for home, and get grounded and
Yeah.
get a little home of my own. And because I've never had that. I mean, I've had it dangled in my face before by family, like buying
Mhm.
condos for everybody except for me. And
Yeah.
buying a condo saying, "Oh, this will be yours." And I tell my cousin, I said, "I'll never see that." And the first thing they saw when they wanted to liquidate something was what was my inheritance. They wanted to let me know that, I have it, but you can never have it.
Yeah.
And so I'm finding the beauty again of just kind of restarting. I think every 7 years or so you restart, and I'm about to
Yes.
restart a new part of my life, but it'll be a good part. It'll be a good part. And I always tell people, don't get fret if something's not working, or, um, it's okay. Just keep going forward. If you're gonna throw something at the wall, something's gonna stick. And but you can magnetize things to you. It's kind of like wishing, but if you just wish and don't put effort into it, nothing, it won't really materialize. You have to magnetize the opportunity to you, and you, you have to be brave enough to reach out and take it. And I think as a society, we need to teach people to be more confident, more assertive, and don't be afraid to reach something for self. And and I help people do stuff all the time. Now it's time for me to look at myself and go, it's time for me to reach out and take those things that I need to do, because then by helping myself, then I can help others more. And but we need to, I think in society we teach people to be less than. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to comment and ask you here, the because you're very giving. You've always, since I've known you've been very giving to me,
Thank you.
and to others that are our friends too. But
Yeah.
it's really interesting to me that you've gone through a period, and I went through a period where I didn't have very good adults, right? Everybody goes through that, or a lot of people go through that. And you went through where you didn't have
Yeah.
a very good
Yeah.
anybody for a long time. And now I think it's really, to me, beautiful
Yeah.
Just like I said, you give and you give and you give. I've seen that, and I appreciate that because I've been the recipient of that too. But I think it's really neat that you are focusing and claiming for yourself. And I want to let our listeners know too that that is something that it is 100% okay to do. I mean, it's not being selfish,
Yeah.
it's being doing self-care, right?
Yes. It's like if you have a raft and your raft isn't very strong, and
Mhm.
then people are grabbing onto the raft, wanting you to help them, and it's not strong, it'll tip over and take you all with it. You have to get yourself strong enough to when you reach to someone or someone reaches to you, that you have enough support and strength to support them. So to do that, you have to make sure that you are prepared.
Mhm.
The reason that I was actually a giving child from a very young.
Yeah.
Uh, I was really odd because in my family, all the children were me, 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 about themselves. It was very
Yeah.
tunnel vision. And actually my parents were that way too about quite a few things. There were a couple of things they were a little bit more generous with, but for control reasons, I think. Um, but
Mark, if you can hear me, you kind of frozen.
I
There you are.
came from a situation where purposely, that I was singled out
Yeah.
because I was different than the rest of them. And so the only control they had was to basically torture me. You know? But they enjoy. Hello. I was about to say, "Uh-oh." Um, it's probably because 'cause I'm talking what I'm talking. But I came from a very damaged group of people, um, and not saying it about I mean, it was just they were all damaged, and, they didn't have any. They really shouldn't have had children. And the
Yeah.
children that they had before me, did need to have brothers and sisters because they were so self-absorbed, and jealous. And, everything I saw around me was take, not give, take, not give. And from a very early age, since I was they were doing that to me, um, making me feel like, well, you're not worth anything, or you're less than, or you really don't own anything. Cause, I mean, if I would buy things with my own money when I was young, and I was
Right.
very good at picking up antiques in the 70s because nobody was into antiques quite yet. And, I mean, I would come home and they would just give my belongings to people who came and visited like a consolation prize. They didn't do that with everybody else. And or sell my things, to pay for bills and stuff because they knew I wouldn't say anything. So I didn't feel like I everything I had was always. And so what I started doing, since I didn't own anything, I didn't have the right to anything, before they could give away things that I loved, I would start giving them away to people myself to get ahead of that.
So you were homing
And
them with who you wanted to have them.
um, uh, doing it, but now it's for a different purpose. Back then it was almost a defensive move.
Yeah. Preemptive.
And now there are things people have given me that the people are gone, and every time I touch or look at what I have to me it's lovely that it came from them, and I like people to have things that when I'm gone they'll be able to look at that and say, well, that Mark gave me that, because it'll have the energy in it. I try to give things that I love to people, and two, when I came from a family, I had 6 uncles, well, really, and 12 aunts, and I've tried to be an uncle to quite a few people in my family, to my nieces and nephews, and my uncles wouldn't have spit on me if I were on fire. And so I've tried to, when I give people things, I give it to have a connection with them, in a
Right.
way. Uh, when I die, I probably will haunt them, um, just to scare them a little bit because I like being a poltergeist.
You're not feisty at all.
But oh, I'm very feisty.
I
You should
know.
see me on a Saturday night. But but so that but I love to give. I think it's been very good for me to do that,
It is very
and I
good
don't
because
regret it at all. And as far as like metaphysical stuff,
I was agreeing with you. We have got some sort of connection
I,
issue going on,
I've
dude.
worked in a store
Yeah.
where
So, Mark, and there he went. Mark,
yes, I'm here.
why don't you,
And here
can
I
you
am.
back out and
Yes,
come back in? Is that okay? Because the connection, you keep
sure.
dragging, and I
I
thought maybe it would help if we
will come
did
back.
that. Okay. Thank you.
All right, I'll come right back.
Thank you. And so now you know why Mark Fults is one of my favorite people. And he is actually going to be guest hosting for me next Wednesday with a better connection. He is the best person to learn paranormal information from. He is one of the nicest people, although he'll tell you he's not. Lori Dorsey in chat will tell you that he is. He is he's kind of weird to investigate with because he already knows everything. before you get a chance to go and gather evidence, right? So sometimes that's a little bit um, eek, but he's excellent. So, and there he is. Yay. Hello, Mr. Fults.
Well, we'll see if it works. I have a hotspot, so that's probably the internet is just special. When I can get actual internet, then it'll be better.
Well, usually that hotspot works like a champ because we've done this many a day. So it must just be in a mood because
Well,
my computer is having issues
yeah,
with the Bluetooth stuff. So there's that.
yeah, there is that. So what would we need to talk to now? We've had enough of that, probably. Probably people want to talk ghost or something
Well, you know,
spooky.
while you were gone, I was talking about how you're going to be here next week to fill
Yeah.
in for me while I'm on a trip. And I'm very excited about my trip and I appreciate you coming on to do that. But
Sure, that'd be fun.
you know, well, you're so good at doing that and you're so good at teaching. And when you would do your show, it was like paranormal classes.
Yeah.
And I think that's really so helpful, especially when you know people are so interested in the topic, right? It's something that is universal. It's in every culture. The ways that they react to it and deal with it are different by culture, but it's everywhere. It's not something that you can really hide from. And I think that what you do as an educator, I consider you an educator in the paranormal, is that
Thank you.
you help people to understand what they're going to be, what they are experiencing, what they're seeing, that maybe they don't really believe that's what they're seeing. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that goes, and you help with all of it.
Yeah. Well, we try, and then I've been watching a lot of ghost stories by hospitals, things like that. Health thing that's metaphysical.
Mhm.
Talk to the people see dead people in their part of the process, things like that. We need to have mental health start looking beyond their asses and look into stuff I mean, modern medicine and things like that. It's in its infancy.
Yeah,
And science doesn't have the answer for everything, even though they think that human experience, the
that's true.
human computer, we haven't really dealt with the human computer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've found out, for myself, from my death experience, how the spirit gets in, how it plugs in, how it gets through the system, where we get our chakras from, each chakra is an element of when a planet dies, uh, it makes a black hole. Well, that black hole is the energy that has of the planet that has died. It begins a black hole because that's the energy moving forward, looking for a new source of energy, and it
Mhm.
goes until it hits um, the right gases to make the explosions. Well, the seven chakras that we have are from the past reincarnated planets we've come from, that it's come through and hit those gases, and we have those elements in our system. And so we have so if you look at the blue chakra, look for a blue nebula. What's that comprised of? What does that mean? If you have a green chakra, what gases, what galaxy does that correlate to? There are elements of the brain. The brain is made of, it has all these neurons, but the neurons move around on their own. There
Yeah.
are interneurons that are on threads. And that's how, when the spirit and the soul connects into the body, it's got a little thread. And, the spirit is the center or the nucleus of the soul neuron.
Mhm.
And so the soul neuron comes up through the spine, turns up all the chakras, goes in, plugs in the spirit into the pineal gland, into the third eye, and then the soul neuron fans out, and that you get those little dendrite tentacle things, and that's where all the guides and guardians come. And it's all from behind us. And a science to metaphysics, but science and medicine ignore all of it because they think
Yeah.
they're above it. And actually, we need to embrace it. There are other cultures who do. In India, it's very common
Yes.
for a child to, at 2 or 3, go, I was born, and they'll take them to the town and the family that they were reincarnated from, and we ignore
Mhm.
that. And
Yes, we do.
I know for a fact I'm reincarnated several times, from what source. And but they just poo-poo all of that, and it's like, it's stupid. It's complicated and simply complicated, or simply complex. But
Well,
we have a connection,
I was just
and
going to add that,
there are so
yeah,
many
that's how
people who
they
go
find
through
a
the
Dalai
same
Lama.
processes through death, download system into a bigger brain.
Mhm.
So
But when a Dalai Lama
go ahead.
dies, then
Yeah,
they go and they know where to go and seek the next one because he's being reincarnated.
the next one.
And
Yes.
I just think, I've been watching the Buddhist March for Peace, the Walk for Peace, and it is kind of what's bringing back to me all the stuff that I've learned over the years relevant to Buddhism. And it really is. People are like, oh, well, that's not a religion. It is a religion. It's a deep religion. It's an old religion, and it
Yeah.
doesn't discount Christ. I mean, it's really something that is, to me, it's very interesting
Yeah.
because I learned about it as an
Christ
adult.
was an exist there, but
Yeah. But it's
yeah,
just an interesting thing. And
yeah.
when you were talking about in India,
It's well,
they take the child. It struck a nerve.
they take the child seriously,
Hmm. Yeah.
and they should sometimes take children seriously. And I've seen one where a child, there's quite a few children reincarnating from 9/11, and there
Yes.
are people who get up in arms going, "How dare you? How dare—" Well, how dare them? They're just reincarnated. Actually, it's good to know that they're reincarnating into a happier life, and they're okay.
Yes.
You know, and for my family, I mean, when I was 3 and 4, I was trying to tell my mother where I had been before I was born, and she would just freak out. And I had to shut up. I could never tell. They didn't want to hear any of that.
Yeah.
And but I remember it clearly. 63 years later. So and if people, children have very vivid imaginations, but when they can recount lives from before, because they will up until a certain point, then at some point the reincarnated spirit has to let go and let the child build who they are now.
Yeah.
They aren't the person that died 20 years ago or 50 years ago. That person may still have some goals that they may be able to help that child. By helping that child, it may achieve them learn something or accomplish something they didn't get to do, but they can't live that child can't live the old life because
Yeah.
that old life is over. It's about progression. And and people, when people lose babies or people abort babies or things like that, it's um I've known several I'm reincarnated from two babies that were terminated out of violence. Uh, and those souls made it through anyway. You know, so if the child doesn't make it, if they're stillborn or anything, the soul will come back. The soul is the body is the vehicle. If they can't make it through in that vehicle, they have to wait for the right vehicle. If they're aligned with a specific energy or family, then they have to wait for the vehicle that will vibrate to that energy. And then when that happens, then they get to be reincarnated. But unfortunately, sometimes, people get mad because they go, well, I don't want another child. I want them back, well, but
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. But at least, if you know that they'll be okay, they'll be back. And sometimes they remember, sometimes they don't. And out of my family, I was able to grow into a person who understands, and I can embrace my past lives. Um, and but I'm right now creating this life.
Right.
And, but after this life, I really don't want to reincarnate again. And you can alter that. If you're not wanting to do this again, you can kind of like put in an order to say, excuse me, I'm done. I'll go and help somebody, but no. Because human consciousness develops to certain points and then people can't handle it. So, then everything collapses because by the time it starts to get to where we're getting to the crux of where we're looking out at where we came from and to the other people out there. And that's usually when we hit a snag. And the people who are primitive, who really want to take it back to the cave time eras, and if you want a girl, just bang her on the head with a stick and drag her home, that kind of thing. Uh, Consciousness is not for everybody. Men are not developed or taught how to deal with their emotions. Women are only taught basically to be submissive, and if they step out of that, then they get punished. If the men do something they shouldn't do, that is not in the box, and they get punished. And it's like we need to quit looking at that you only fit into this, and if you don't fit into that, then you're a failure and we reject you.
Yeah.
Um, we need to be looking to reaching out and expanding, and we need to quit going us, them. That comes from primitive ideas. We need to, we're all, I mean, humanity, they've proven before, bottleneck down to about 5,000 people a few times. Something has happened where we got down to about the size of a small town. So all of us come from a very small group of people. That's why we all have some of the things in it, like the Egyptian stuff in our cerebellums and all that. We all, pretty much. I mean, 5,000 people is about the size of the town I came from. It's not very much. We're all
Okay.
related somehow, form or fashion. Yes.
How did that happen?
How did what happened? The bottlenecking.
The bottlenecking,
Uh,
because there's so many
yeah,
instances of cataclysmic events to the earth. So many
yeah.
is what created the environment that there were only 5,000 people.
Well, I think pretty much for us, when it goes into that, is when the poles shift.
Okay.
And when the poles shift, that's when the cataclysms start. And if you go to the Sumerian stories about the Anunnakis, they
Hmm.
came here, got their stuff, they wanted the gold, and made the satellites with the things to get the light going to their dying planet, kind of thing. But they knew, and it's in the stories. I mean, these stories are
Yes.
thousands of years old, that they knew the poles were shifting, and they knew which part was going to flood and which wasn't. And they got out of here as much as possible. And the ones that stayed, helped some people and helped things keep afloat, basically. But we have cataclysms. We have, think about when people had the Black Plague and millions of people dropped dead, kind of things. So it can be disease, it can be whatever, but we nowadays, I've been watching tsunami things, from 2004, 2011,
Right.
and one of them, 250,000 people died, and
Yeah.
the water looked like it was alive. It doesn't, it's
It
not like
was.
water when it becomes a tsunami, and it moves, and it's like the blob. It just, devours whatever it touches. And but so it it can be anything. I mean, meteors hitting the earth. My favorite story of that is this woman said the meteor that killed the dinosaurs was Satan being thrown out of heaven, and then he hit the earth, and that's what killed all the dinosaurs. So people could live. And I love that. But it could be disease, it can be change. It doesn't matter, because I mean, a small portion of people either survived, or it came from, the way I see it, which it may not be anybody else sees it. I think when the travelers came, the Anunnaki,
Right.
because they're only one brand of travelers. They're not the only travelers. They had a DNA library they were using. So they're not the
Yes.
only travelers. So there's the ones we have any record of. Um, which we would be the Anunnaki to another place. We're planning on going to Mars and starting or going somewhere else. They're finding planets they think are similar to Earth. So we would do the same thing to other people if we went. And we would be technologically advanced compared to those people. Well, those people were way more advanced than us. Um, I mean, if you look at Egypt, there's much more of Egypt underground than there is above ground. And
And we just
there's
now
all these
learning
things
where
they're
we
finding
learn that.
underneath. And I'm like, that's where the good stuff is. That's where the libraries are. That's where the stuff is. Hmm? What now?
And we are just now learning this.
Repeat it?
We are just
Yeah.
now
But
learning this
see,
thanks to
I think,
LIDAR.
yeah. But see, we're at a thing where we can now start to reach out. See, like the thing with like biblical stories, they're not
Yeah.
some of it is always, some of it has grains of truth in it and some of it's myth. It's like any
Hmm.
other stories, and you have to know what part is the meat. And to me, the story of the Tower of Babel,
Yes.
where the people were trying to build up to get to those people who were the sky people, which means the people with the vehicles that fly and all that stuff. And so they had chips, neural chips in these people, I believe, and then they were able to scramble their uh thing, their communication.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a thing of, I think the closer we get to getting out there, they don't want us, the white trash people, the white trash relatives, coming out there getting in their stuff. Because look what we do to our stuff. Look what we
Well,
do
yeah.
to our people. Look what we're doing to our own earth. Look what we're doing to our own people. We are drinking our own sewage. It may be semi clean, but we're drinking our own sewage. We are living in our own sewage. We are living in our own garbage.
Yeah.
Shoot it, or have sex with it. And so, they don't necessarily want us, who we think we're so on top of it, to come out there and get into their business. And they have an interest in keeping this planet alive, and we have an interest in to say, I'm a bigger dude than you are. I'll just blow you up. Well, they're stupid. That's why, the travelers come and keep track of when we have radiation
Testing.
or nuclear war kind of coming. That's when you see the stuff. And that's because they don't want us to poison a organ that's in the universal body. Because
Yeah.
once you nuke it, um, it causes, it's like having a cancer. It kills a very valid, needed organ. And the planet is an organ. The Earth is a self-regulatory system. It thinks, and it's an important in between where people come to and go from that have nothing to do with us. They don't really look at us as their equals. Um, there's some of them I wouldn't want to have to deal with, but mostly it's just they let us be. They check us, they check people, they check their um I think we talked about this before, but they've checked, when people get probed or anything, that's to see, what your radiation level is, how they sample people's consciousness level, because actually your it's a computer. They check and they check and see what really level of consciousness are we at. If you look at the ancient carvings of the Anunnaki, you know, the people, but when they're holding the pine cone and the little purses, and people started carving, making little bronze purses to imitate what those things were. Those are communication devices. Those people, some of them didn't really have wings. You know, that just represents they were able to fly. But when they're holding a purse with a little pine cone, that was some kind of communication device. You know, these people were pretty technologically advanced. And I mean, there are, I mean, there's so many elements in the Egyptian area, in the temples and the sarcophaguses and stuff like that. They use tools that we have no, we don't have, we'll never have. You know, really, we don't. There are things that you know astonish me when I look at them and I go, but you know, they had the technology. They knew how to move the stones without having to use real people. They had tools to do it with. They had ways to travel that we cannot do. And nor should we. We are not prepared
No.
to go out and you know, if we went to another planet, you know, we would be causing chaos with them because we cause chaos with ourselves, you know, and look at the primitive things that we're going through right now. I mean, I've been listening to people that it's like it has blown my mind. It's like they lost their IQs. It's like it's de-evolution. And I feel like I'm trying to I see a de-evolution of things that should have been gone 50 years ago. And here we are. We have people who are embracing it, holding on to it like a raft in the ocean. You know, they want to
Yes.
hang on to hate. They want to hang on to something safe, but it's not good stuff. You know,
No.
um, so it's but sometimes we have to go through these things out of after these kind of cataclysmic events. Then people get more consciousness because they go, well, that wasn't right. You know, we have to care about other people. We have to care about the earth. And but the reason it has to happen is because we lose interest in it. We take it for granted, and then when it's almost gone, then we know how important it is. But sometimes it's a little late by the time you get off your duff. And this inhumane stuff that's going on right now with other people,
Right.
it's like um it will be okay though. I tell people it's going to be okay. We've gone through worse. And actually
We
a
have
lot
gone
of
through
growth
worse.
has to come out of there has to be a lot of fertilizer to grow the plant. A lot of fertilizer going on. So there are going to be a lot of plants growing out of this
You
manure.
think?
But you know, but it also, I think people have had to become so laid back that they don't know how to be assertive, and we're having to relearn how to be assertive, and which is okay. You know, it's okay. You got to fight for what you believe, and you got to protect other people, and it's
Well,
not
you
a
do.
bad thing. But also, like, but there are, I see things of reincarnation in the people that are at every time you have a cataclysmic kind of element in human nature, there are some spirits that reincarnate that are part of that. And they reincarnate and they come back and they raise up. to do because they're feeding off of the destruction. And but it always turns out those people get defeated and it goes away. It's just that, but until then, they'll go as far as they can. And there's one that I know that I've watched that, I know it's a reincarnation. I mean, they've done this before, they'll do it again. About every 100 years, you get that challenge. And, um, and it will end the same way that it did before. It ends up in useless loss.
Yeah.
But it teaches us something in the process because we allow things to happen, because uh, and now, I've been very surprised when I was young up until, I was in my 30s and stuff. Um, I think in the last 30 or 40 years, we lost a lot of the real fighters for humanity because of the AIDS epidemic and things like that. I think a lot of people who really were strong, died out. So now we have it in us. We just have to, humanity has to rise up and say what's right and what isn't right and stand behind it and do so. But that's part of consciousness. Sometimes you have to fight for what you need. And but I think I see a lot of bottom dweller feeders who are just reincarnated, and this is what they do. They feed off of the corpse. What they see is the corpse, and profiteering, kind of things. Very primitive, caveman stuff. And but this too shall pass. And
Well,
the thing
it
we have to
always
as
does. You know,
humans is it always does. It always goes forward.
well, and it's
When
always
we were
cyclic.
war and there were millions of people killed and everything else at it, and at a certain point, that was over.
Hmm.
And the people changed and things happened and we moved forward.
Yeah.
We're going to move forward as people, but we also have to think about what are we doing as a consciousness.
Hmm.
And we have to magnetize a better consciousness, a better soul purpose. Because no matter how much money is a good thing to have, it's not a bad thing. But if it becomes your focus and it becomes your drug, it will never
Yes.
fulfill anything you have. Never. It will never. When you die, it's not going to be a comfort to you to hold $1 bill under your next to your pillow. It's
Yeah.
humans contact humans. What are you giving people? How are you when you leave this earth? Are you going to have people who miss you, or are you going to have people who go, thank God that old jerk is
I should
gone?
never go.
You know,
Yeah.
we have to think about those.
Yeah, we do. And,
Woo.
it's so frustrating because you sit there
So
and
I
you
can't hear
watch
you.
everything. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? I don't know why.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I was worried about that. But, you sit back and you watch, and
Okay.
there's all kinds of ways to look at things, but it just seems that when one part of our world goes bat poop crazy, that it just kind of falls as it goes. And, if one thing goes awry,
Yeah.
then something else goes awry, and then something else goes awry. And it doesn't seem to be, it's like blocks that start to go over. I think it's
Yeah.
odd that this seems to be cyclic.
Well, saying, the past repeat itself. And the problem is we really don't learn from our past.
No,
And um that we need to, but that, I mean, something ever happened, and if it's been good for so long, then we just become lackadaisical and we get atrophied. And right now we've been atrophied. And it's just the bottom dwellers have come in to feed on our corpses. And we have to show people we're not dead. We are here. We have a purpose, and we have to be connected to other people. We have to quit looking at everyone as their enemy.
yes,
We all come from the same place, kids. If you flay a person body and take the skin off, you're not going to be able to tell what color that person was under
no,
just by the color of their muscles underneath. We all come from the same place. The spirit is what is different, and it comes from a big pool of energy that is constantly, daily, you know, uh, interacting, and people are coming and going and going and coming, and there is no superior anything. We at the end of it, we're all a part of we're brain cells in a brain, a big consciousness, and the purpose is for you to come learn and then take back, and then it learns more because of your life, and it has nothing to do with feelings. Don't be doing an alpha male thing trying to act like you're superior. You're not, and that's why people do the superior act, because at some point we all die, turn back to dirt, and go back into the consciousness. You know, we need to learn to focus on our development and not being bullies on the playground, or being
I think a lot of what we're seeing
worrying
from
about.
well, I was just going to say, I think that a lot of the assertiveness and borderline aggression comes a lot. If you're coming from the conservative side, it's because everybody saw what we had previously. So now those people are all
Yeah.
tripping out because that situation should never have been happening. And so then you've got the other people that are like, well, but it wasn't so bad when we were, sandbagging you. Nobody did anything, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's not true. That wasn't
Well,
the best
the
4 years of
the
your life.
ancient people.
But
Go ahead.
but the ancient people are different. But what you're talking about with the emotions and the anger and the frustration, I think what we're seeing now is more frustration over, you know, there's two very
Of course.
different schools of thought and nobody is communicating. And all these people that grew up with no rules
Yeah.
and no punishments and no, you know, bad behavior has been tolerated
No,
basically
getting
since
spanked.
the mid 70s. And, I mean, because I'm a child of the 60s, and I have watched my kids' friends have no discipline at all or be in abusive households. There wasn't a lot of middle ground. And I'm just like, you know what? These
Nope.
people are the people that we're seeing. I feel like the majority of the people that we're seeing rioting in the streets are feeling like that they have a cause. Finally, they have a cause, something they can rally around, something that they can, come out and
Sure.
do the 60s thing again, and because the 60s
Yeah.
were turmoil as well. And that is all cyclic. And, because what I
That
found,
for us, it was turbulent and it was
yeah,
well, see, what we're going through right now, if you look at the Sumerian records
yeah,
of the story of the Anunnaki and the slaves that they brought, the
yeah,
slaves rebelled
yeah,
because they were being forced into situations. And those are the people who came here and then went, well, if we can't use them, come up with something. And
yeah,
that was the story that's what, came out of, creating something else. But
yeah,
the earliest story I have, it's a repeat of that crap. And those
mhm,
people that rebelled that were angels, they demonized them because
yeah,
but they didn't but when those angel
literally
people, they
demonized
weren't
them.
angels, but when those they demonized them and said, well, they're demons. Well, no, they weren't. They were people. They aren't people like different place. They have a different energy. And their spirit very
Yeah,
beautiful, very interesting, very intense.
yeah,
But that they were brought here as slaves, and they eventually said enough. And those people had those Anunnaki um,
yeah,
people had to find something else to do because they couldn't eventually get around that the slaves weren't going to be slaves anymore.
yeah.
And we're just, and it repeats for us every 100 years, basically. Um, and the Second World War was about, well, if we can't, if we don't like them, let's just kill them and go and do something else. And eventually people rebelled. Um,
Yes.
Eventually, right now, we're just going through. This isn't new. This isn't
No,
new,
it's not.
and it's and the same players who were there at the time of the Anunnaki stuff, we have elements right now. The spirits who came back to do that. It's
Yeah.
like a repeat of that thing, and then it comes close to collapse because that resets us, and we have to recover, and that way that keeps us from going out further to bother them. So it's not
Do
as
you
much
think
about
though,
destroying us or any of that. I think it knocks the blocks out, and we have to take more time.
do you think that this is something that,
So
because I
what's
do
going
know
on
it's
right now
cyclic.
will pass.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But, you know, it's, it's just so frustrating because as you watch it now, it doesn't seem to be, I mean, my dad was in the National Guard during the 60s. Okay.
Yeah.
When there were riots, there were race riots, there was, everything happening. My dad almost got court martialed because he refused to do some of the things he was asked to do when he was in the military. And,
Yeah.
it's just a thing that sometimes it seems like this is not something that's going to ever find a peaceful way out of it, because you do
Yeah.
have people that shouldn't be here who were able to come here because we had an incapacitated commander in chief who, you know, other people were making decisions for, and people were getting frustrated with that. And then now you've got somebody who's coming in and they're being very strong armed and willed with, we're not going to have these people here. If they didn't come right, they have to go back. And then,
Yeah,
you've
but
got people that are like, well,
that's
nobody should have to
yeah,
go back. We're
but
not going to
is
do that.
the thing that's
And
happening is the well, the thing that itself, it better group is there's always chosen. Um, and this time it's the excuse is the illegal aliens. The last time it was being Jewish. The time before that,
I think
people
that's the
don't
same thing.
remember in the Roman times, the Romans would take Christians and dip them in tar and hang them on meat hooks and light them up to light the hanging gardens, you know.
Mhm.
So, and then the Christians didn't learn from that not to hurt other people. They go, well, I
Yeah.
had to go through that. Somebody has to, there has to be somebody who pays. And it's always either their skin color, their religion, their whatever it is, whatever, whether they're gay, they're not us, or they're this or that, it's something that repeats itself. It will always repeat itself. And in 100 years, we'll go through this again, and this will pass. Um, but until it passes, it always causes bloodshed, always causes denigration. But like I said, I think a lot of this happens is because we're getting too technologically advanced, and other people, this is the simplest way to keep the white trash from moving into where you are is, you knock the blocks out and they have to start over a little bit more, and it gives you some more time. And humans cannot handle getting to a certain level. They just, I mean, this happens over and over again.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the things that you see, the fear of the feminine, the fear of others, being a different skin color, or people that you're threatened because they're smarter than you, or everything's a threat. Everything's a threat to the basic, what tends to be what I consider a basic male mentality. It's men who make wars. Women don't believe a woman can't start a war,
I was going to say,
or
you,
whoop your
you know
butt.
who you're talking to, right? So,
Yeah. Well, I know who I'm talking to. I mean, police, police, please, please. Let me tell you what. I came from like pioneer women. When the men would hit them, they would hit back. With
harder.
baseball bats and skillets. They didn't take this crap, and
No.
they would take some of it. But when they quit, the men either ran or learned.
Yeah.
And that's this part. I think the male testosterone thing is out of control. Women and the feminine and the gays and the trans and everybody and the people who are being looked at as less than because they come from somewhere else, people uh for what they people come here for different reasons, and yes, people have to be here correctly, but there are
Yeah.
ways to deal with that where you don't just do what we're doing. But if you take out the modern story, it repeats itself. It goes back to the first story we ever have written, which is those
Yeah.
people came from somewhere dragging people as slaves, and those slaves said, "Screw you."
Yeah.
And we ain't taking it no more. And guess what? They won. They won.
They often
And
do.
and that's where we have to rise up and we have to learn. But then we have, but everything that's coming to the surface, then you have a new set of something that will bubble underneath the surface. And then it will go on.
Yeah.
I have seen things right now where when people who are proudly saying, I'm a Nazi, I'm a this, I'm a that. When I was young, you couldn't, if you had said that, you couldn't have run quick enough to get
No.
away from
And I
people.
have not seen that.
And
So
we, I've seen it lately, and I've been like, whoa.
I haven't.
But we
So
were raised, that was terrible.
yeah,
It's terrible, and
it
it
is
can be
terrible.
your I mean, it's your choice to believe that way, but you don't have a right to put it on me. What we have to do is, and I don't have a right to tell people I'm metaphysical. I don't have a right to tell people how to be. Now, if people want to listen to me, that's fine. If somebody wants to listen to them, that's fine. But we have to be able to not say, well, this is what it is, and I'm going to force it on you, and da 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 da. But that's where slavery starts. Is
Well, I
you
want
don't
to.
have rights. I'm going to tell you, and we've been through it. Yes, you're going to tell me.
Well, I just wanted to say, and I mean, I'm not doing. I'm telling you, but I don't think
Yeah,
that the situation that we're in equates whatsoever to the Jewish concentration camps and stuff. Because
no,
what I
no,
mean,
but
it's not,
but
because the
it's not the
people.
Jewish experience. No, no. But and I have Jewish relatives, ancestry. But what's coming out of it, the Nazi mentality is the same thing. Where what's happening with the black and brown people right now is people, they're being it's that same kind of thing where we're seeing a violence of that.
I don't think so,
It
because
is
I think that what, but I think what we're
in
seeing
well,
is
it's an echo of
because
it's not as much about the religious thing. It's about
it's not.
someone.
It's
It's
about your.
picking
Mm,
someone that they can target.
no,
Hmm?
it's taking somebody
Go
who's
ahead.
here. It's taking somebody who has violated our nation's sovereignty. In the instance of people, and in all fairness, the people that came here illegally during the Biden administration had a free pass. They didn't, I mean, they were getting in while they could, because they knew when they came here that they were not supposed to do that. And because that's our ways to do
Oh,
that.
I'm not. Well,
And, if you're doing something,
there are, and people have to be held to laws.
and if you did that,
People
being
have to be
sent home
held
to go back and
by
do it right
laws,
isn't a
and there are
bad
people
thing.
here who need to come legally. And if they're not, there are procedures to take care of. There are legal procedures to take care of that.
Sending them
That
home is a legal
the
procedure.
element of where the Nazism is, because there is a huge, yes, but what's being done to those people and what is being done to us as American citizens right now is an echo of what happened in the Second World War. Right now, where we have a group or scare other people into submission. And that is what is coming from the echo of like the Second World War. It's a different situation I'm not
But
just
it
talking
is a
about
different
the
situation
quote
because
unquote
it's not.
undocumented people. I'm talking about us as Americans. We are being, it's a different situation, but it's the same issues because they're
No,
picking
it's
people
not.
that are talking. Yeah, it is. But we won't get into an
Because the
argument right now. But
No, I'm not going to
it's
argue. We're not
it's
going to get into
different.
an argument. We wouldn't do that.
No, no,
But
we don't get
I
in
mean,
arguments. But it's, I'm telling you, when people, it is a part of discrimination that, and there are people that are
I
being
don't feel that.
affected that are not illegal. That it, so there's a lawlessness going on. It is a thing to show us and scare us. And there are American citizens that are being terrorized along, besides, that have nothing to do with the undocumented people. So that is a part of the domination thing that is going on. But that's where, but it's different than the Jewish.
It
But
is different than the
we,
Jewish.
but I'm telling you, with the Nazism is back. There are people who are full Nazi. And I've listened to some of it, and it's
Well,
shocking.
well,
And
it is
that
shocking,
is
but
something
we have
that they do.
always, Nazism is not, I mean, there have been Nazis all over the world. People like having power to do stuff like
Yeah.
that. There are people that get their rocks
Yeah.
off with that. The people that are actively going
Of course.
and getting people who are truly illegal to take them out, that's a law enforcement thing. And there are people that, like I said, people get their rocks off on a power trip. There are
Yeah.
those that do
Crossing
that,
that.
and you will find them in any.
And there are some that, yeah. But everything has to be done by law. And what the procedure should be is, if you find someone that is illegal, you go through the legal system and they get their due process.
They're not
And
citizens. They
then,
don't get due process.
but everyone that's here, you can't just grab people and say, I'm going to take you and drop you somewhere. If you're here in this country, you get through the court system, and then the court system tells you where you're going to go, how you're going to treat this person, because you're
No,
here. Everyone gets a due
no,
process because we are in
no. Not
America,
everyone
whether
is
you're a
entitled to a
citizen or
due
not.
process. American citizens are entitled to due process, or people that are in the
Well,
process.
but when they're
If you come
here,
here illegally, you don't have
but you
rights.
have, well, but if you're
If you broke our
here,
laws to be here,
there
you don't
you
have
need to,
rights.
but when you're here, see the America, let me tell you what
Mm.
happens. Of
I'm a
25
paralegal. I'm a paralegal. This is that is the
parent,
law.
well, but let me tell you, when they're here, you can't, but that, and that's fine. But I think they need due process. I think let a judge
But you can think they need due
be
process
able to
all day
look at it and say,
long.
well, you're a citizen, you're not a citizen. If you're not a citizen and you need to be going, then that's the way you have to do it. That's the way you need to do it. But what's being done is done to instill fear in us,
I
not
don't
just
think
them,
so.
in us. Because, oh, well, it's the truth, honey. I'm telling you, because that's
Did you
part
just
of
honey me?
what is happening.
Mark Fults.
Huh?
I'm
Yeah,
just teasing. I said,
I'm
did
a
you just
Southern.
honey me? I
Honey is
know.
good.
You honey me all the
Yeah.
time.
But
But
but I but but you don't just scoop people up and just abuse them. You have to go through the system. And then if they need to be deported, let the judge say it and then do it. But you
if
can't
they're here
just do what is
illegally, they don't
being
have
done.
those rights. You just if you're
But what
illegal, you don't have the rights.
but well, I think everyone has human rights. And when you're
That's not a
here,
legal right though.
if
Human
but
rights.
if you go through the system and the judges say they don't need to be here,
Do
then
you know
you
how much that's
deport the
going to
person.
cost us to process every person that came here illegally
Well,
and to
but
get
you
them
know
out? They
what
don't have a right
happens?
to that.
Honey, well, let me tell you this. but it's the way we have to do our system. And well,
They
we
don't
go
have
through
the right
everything
for the
else. I mean,
system.
the 25 years ago, but you know what? We benefit from the people who've been here because 26 years ago, someone bought my social security number from a
Get out of
store in
town.
Texas. So I was really offended by that. Well, they
I'm
said,
sure.
well, they said, well, they didn't want to do anything about it, but they said when they have your social security number, then as they're making income, it goes towards your social security and they don't get to benefit from it. And I said, well, but if they commit a crime, then I'll say, well, yeah, they'll have to look at you and make sure it's not you. And every
Hmm.
few years, I had to go to SSI or to Social Security and say, are you, at the time I was living in Chattanooga, and they were going, are you working at Joe's Shrimp Bar in um, Louisiana? And I said, of course. Of course, I'm going working for minimum wage every weekend, and then so I can work at Joe's Shrimp Bar. And so they benefited. This country benefits from the undocumented workers who do that. But I feel like that I think in our system we can't just be going and scooping up people because I think they have to go through the system and it's make a leave because we have to be humane about it and we have to be legal about it. And but
It is
what's
legal to
happening
take
right
them
now,
home.
but it's part of a bigger, but it is part of a bigger, just it's not just about the black and the brown people and the problems because we've seen a lot of discrimination come to the surface. I'm a gay person. There's been a rise in the murder of gay people and trans people. There's so it is, it's a part of the hate system. And
Yes,
it's
but
also a
it's
part of,
not.
but it's being it's that's to me how it replicates from the Nazi era because there are actual Nazis saying
Yes,
how
there
proud
are.
they are to be Nazis, and they're very proud of
Yeah,
it. But their
they
thing
are.
is about destroying anyone who is not them. And that is a
Yes,
repeat of the ancient self. And what we're going through
but you can't hold the
is,
legal system hostage because of idiots. You root those idiots out and you treat
well,
them the way that the law requires you to,
I
just
think
like you
the legal
treat the
system
immigrants the way that
is,
the law requires you to.
well, but
It's both
they will
ways.
have to let the courts decide everything because I mean, it's going to have to be
Well,
decided
you
through
and I
courts.
can't decide it because we're just people talking on the radio.
We're just excited. To me, yeah, I mean, it's not gonna, but to me, it's like, but I think the system should do it. But there's a lot of the legal system being overloaded by individuals who have power who are abusing the system, and they need to be held accountable for that because they're costing us millions of dollars in wasted taxpayer money, uh, overtaxing the system. So, I mean, there's stuff that's being filed all the time that is the taxpayers are paying for. So, the thing I feel like right now, we need to, and see everybody's, well, even we're having a, but it may be taxing on the system, but there are other things that are taxing on the system as well. And I've seen there have been things trying to people have been making decisions to undermine our basic system of our banks, our social security system, our
Yes.
educational system. When people are saying that you're because you're American, we're going to get somebody from out because they can bring someone from somewhere else who will come and put up with anything to be in America. And
Yeah.
we're too stupid to go to college, which we're not. And so it's a eroding of who we are because all we are is a money source for people. The thing that is going on with the undocumented people and also the people that are here, there's I say you wouldn't have expected to hear when you hear a man say, "If you raise your voice, I will erase your voice." That's a
I've heard
serious
that. I've
intent.
heard that for decades.
I have too. Well, I mean, I used to sit in front of my father who would go, "I hate your face. I want to kill you. If I could get away with it, I would do it."
Yeah.
So I take threats pretty seriously, but it's
Yeah.
coming from this male dominated want to control thing. And the thing that came out of the Second World War was a male dominated, kind of thing. Women are only for certain things. They're a needed evil, so we got to have them. But anyone that we don't like, that we're jealous of, or that we're threatened by, we evaporate them. We put them in camps. We kill them. Uh, Camps are always
But
a bad
that's not
idea,
what's happening
you
here.
know. But
No,
but
camps are
it
never a good
is.
idea.
But when we have someone like I will say a person who's uh, Robert, well, we'll say Robert Kennedy, who in the very early days of this goes, we're going to have camps, mental health camps for people with mental issues. Once you go into them, you cannot have electronics or anything. We're going to be mommy and daddy for you. And
I did
you
not hear
cannot
him say
have
that
contact with the
or
outside
about
world.
it.
And we're going to be another. I have. I've seen what it was. Well, then people, when you talk about people being a compulsion, and when people start doing that, they're trying to say it's a mental illness instead of that's just the way you're born. And then when you start to accept these things of where, well, it's okay if somebody we don't really care about goes away, well, then the next group of people that are not okay goes away. And then you end up losing your rights. And it happens that way. And that's no
Like they
different
said, they came
than
for
what's happened
them
before
and I
the
didn't say
children.
anything. They came for them and I didn't say anything. And then they came for me. That is the way
Well,
that
it's
works.
and it's and that it's the way it works.
And that's why
And
you
right
have to be
now,
vigilant.
yeah. And when people are watching this, we have to understand we can have spicy conversations with people and still be able to have the conversations.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's
because
to
seriously, our
me,
relationship is such that
whatever
we can do
happens
that.
with the system, we can do that. And you can hit me with a skillet, sometimes I don't care.
Probably not.
But
I might hand you a skillet to cook
I,
with. Yeah.
I, yeah. But I mean, when we have people here who break the law, whether it's for, there are people who break the law that are above the law, and then there are people who break the law that are not. And I think everyone should be held to the same level of what our laws are.
I agree with that.
And if someone breaks the law, they need to be looked, even though, well, the workers and stuff that are here, it may be taxing on our system, but our system is already taxed.
Well, but the
And
problem with that too is that they are working
so
under the
it's kind of
table
like
and
to me,
they're not
we
welcome
have
for
to
that
process
either.
to deal with this, but not just that.
Yeah. We
Well,
are out of time. I can't
I
believe
still
we
think
we should have started
before they
here. We
are,
could have gone for 2
you have to make
hours.
sure. Yeah.
But we are out of time. We've got like I guess I could
Huh?
put my glasses on and see how much time we've got. So,
Um,
yeah. We still got about 4
well,
minutes.
and I'm sorry to people that we went in a different route because this
Oh,
because
that is
today is
fine.
just we're all going through intensity.
We are.
Everybody goes through intensity, and what I'm hoping for people is treat people the way you want to be treated. And
Yeah.
before you're mean to anyone, don't look at anyone as Republican or Democrat, black, white, green, purple. You know, if you have to think and be conscious,
Yeah.
and just because of somebody is something you don't like, that's okay. But if you think someone is breaking the law, you need to stand up for that. And it
Yeah.
needs to be done calmly and not in a out of control sense. We have to keep our control. And laws in this country will hold. There are a lot of people who are terrified. Don't be terrified. You know, and everything that's going on, the people that are scared, it's going to pass. This is nothing new, and it will be okay. And the thing with any of it, though,
Yeah.
you have to not lose yourself. Don't get swept away in movements. Don't let someone hijack your what you're doing. And because that happens a lot, you have to make sure you're going to stand up behind what you believe and what you do. Have this with people. You need to be able to have they're going to believe the way they believe. If you get in an argument with someone and walk off and go, well, I'm not going to talk to them because they don't believe the way I'm going, then you may be cutting off something that you don't need to. You have to be open. You have to you have to have your beliefs and stand behind them. But
Yep.
we have to learn to
But you don't
argue
need to be
and
unkind.
discourse. No. And,
Yeah. And it's
and I
okay to not
respect
have the same
people.
opinion.
Yeah. And we have to respect each other and love each other. And
Yes.
the people that are out there, that if there are people here that are from other countries that don't need to be here, we need to find a way to deal with that legally, but we need to do it humanely. And then we also, for our brothers and sisters and neighbors, we have to stand up for the people who need assistance. We need to make sure that we're taking care of our consciousness and our mental health so
Yes.
that, and to understand right now, what we're really battling is greed. Everything kind of comes down to power and greed, and people are having to deal with that. And we're seeing it on a huge scale. Whatever happens, just hold on to who you are. It's all going to be okay.
It always is.
And this has happened before. It'll be all right. This is my partner. I know my partner's church had a end of the world thing, so they were, people have gone through they think it's the end of the world.
I went through that back in
This is not.
1970.
the
8
end of
people
the
thought the world was ending.
world.
Yeah. We had those things in
This
school.
is just growing.
Yeah. But we are out of time. We got to run. But we are.
And
But
to show
it is. Our little time drop thing is driving me crazy. But we have to go. Thank you so much.
I know,
for
it's like,
I love it. I love having you as my friend. You're so special.
well, and next time we'll talk. Next time we'll talk ghosts.
This is cool too. But I love different opinions. But I will talk to you later.
Oh,
Thank you for going.
I do.
Thank you for coming Wednesday.
Okay, honey. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye to Morgan.
Oh, it's breaking up. I will be back Wednesday. We'll talk ghosts or something.
Yes.
We'll go back to basics next week. There won't be any of this.
Thank you.